continue on with our program. We're going to begin, first of all, with a video. I'll call it an introductory video regarding the Illinois Fatherhood Initiative. So if you please direct your attention to the screen in the front of the room. Thank you.
Children are growing up in father-absent homes. That's 1.1 million Illinois kids and 24 million nationally. Another alarming statistic is an estimated 1/3 of all kids in Illinois are born without a father's name on their birth certificate. That's 60,000 children a year that for the most case will never know the love and affection of their biological father. When fathers are involved in their children's lives, high school graduation rates go up. Use of drugs and alcohol goes down. Teen pregnancies decrease. And fewer children live in poverty. Crime and incarceration of kids goes down. The Illinois Fatherhood Initiative, founded in 1997, is the first statewide, all-volunteer nonprofit organization in the country whose mission is to actively engage fathers in the education of children. IFI's flagship program is the annual IFI Chicago White Sox Fatherhood Essay Contest. In the last 16 years, more than 400,000 essays have been collected. Students in grades K through 12 are asked to write about their fathers, stepfathers, grandfathers, and father figures.
Just a month, we got 30,000 essays for kids all over the state.
Talking about their dad?
Yeah, writing essays on what their dad means to them.
That's how they begin to role model for the rest of the men. They just show the people who are getting it right, don't you think?
800 to 900 volunteers are recruited annually to help read and evaluate the essays and help select 150 statewide finalists.
It's been an amazing thing here reading these essays to see how the kids feel about their dads and their grandfathers, their role models. The one essay that stood out to me is kids that compare their parents or their father to superheroes. And
reading these essays, I must say, the students are really very passionate. They pour out their hearts. Some of them touch us. There are tears in the eyes on some of these because they're so meaningful.
The event culminates with a picnic where some of the winning essays are read.
My dad helps me with math. I struggle a lot, but he helps me through it.
My dad is such a strong person. I had so much love and support from my family and friends.
The winning families are treated to a Chicago White Sox game. 12 fathers are recognized at the annual IFI Fatherhood Dinner Celebration. IFI also recognizes a few prominent fathers each year, including business and civic leaders, those involved in the media, politics, and sports.
We must do everything we can to raise them well and make sure they have the education and opportunities they need to succeed. The Illinois Fatherhood Initiative understands this and is helping to inspire fathers to be more involved and engaged with their children, especially with their children's education.
Since 2000, IFI has given out the IFI Ricky Birdsong Award, named in honor of the highly respected former Northwestern University basketball coach who was slain in a hate crime in 1999. The finalists for the award have three things in common. They're good fathers to their own children, they each make a difference in the lives of kids in their community, and they possess an identifiable spiritual dimension. Every year, IFI hosts one of its most popular annual events, the Tom Greason Celebrity Golf Classic. The event raises money through auctions and star-studded entertainment. IFI has partnered with a school-based initiative known as the Watchdogs program. Watchdogs is aimed at getting fathers and father figures to volunteer one day a semester in the child's school. They walk the halls and perimeter of the school to create a safer learning environment. They also volunteer in classrooms with reading and math. In an effort to help equip men become better fathers and father figures, IFI has created a host of publications, including the Illinois Father's Resource Guide, I Want My Child to Succeed in School Guide, and What My Father Means to Me essay booklets, as well as the Faces of Fatherhood calendar. Today's child is tomorrow's employee and hopefully a contributing member to a civil society. As an individual or corporation, making a commitment to support IFI through donations or personal involvement means you're making a commitment not only to the future of families in Illinois, you're helping to create responsible citizens who have truly felt the benefits of fathering in their own lives.
Person with much generosity to give inspiration
Amen. A game changer. A person who has given people a different way to look at how life can be lived.
You can just see how his generosity, his integrity, his character are reflected so well in the lives of his children.
For more information on IFI and how to get involved, please visit forfathers.org or call this number, 1-800-996-DADS.
I hope that gives you a little bit of background regarding the Illinois Fatherhood Initiative for some of you who may not be that familiar with the organization and what it's all about and why we're gathered here today. It was also kind of fun to see that StubHub got a little plug there. I don't know if you noticed that there's still tickets available to the Bears-Vikings game on Sunday night. There's a little notification that popped up at the bottom of the screen. So for those of you interested in that too, I'm sure you will. All right, you're going to hear from some great speakers today, and first we're going to have a little bit of, I guess I call it a double header, but I'm going to first of all introduce our keynote, Pastor James Meeks. He is the founder and senior pastor of Salem Baptist Church in Chicago. It is recognized as one of the fastest growing megachurches in the United States. In fact, it is the largest African American church in the state of Illinois, more than 15,000 members. In 2002, Pastor Meeks successfully ran for Illinois State Senator, and his win at that time made him the first independent legislator ever elected to the Illinois Senate. He served 3 terms in the Illinois Senate, his major focus on educational equity. He currently serves as chair of the Illinois State Board of Education. But throughout his life, Pastor Meeks has served the needs of the people, whether it was through legislation on the Senate floor down in Springfield, through the community, organizing events on the streets of Chicago, or from the pulpit every Sunday morning. He's the author of 2 books, How to Get Out of Debt and Into Praise, and Life-Changing Relationships. They've both received critical acclaim. Would you please welcome Pastor Meeks and his wife, Janelle, is here as well.
Thank you so much, Alan. We thank you, Alan, for all that you do to help the Illinois Fatherhood Initiative. And I'm grateful to be here with all of you good-looking people. But what a wonderful day. It happened to be the day that we have the first snowfall of any significance. And I thought that it was going to be less snow than they had predicted. But anyway, you tell that weather girl over there that she better get this straight. I am honored to be here today, and I'm also honored to serve as the chairman of the State Board of Education here in Illinois. In Illinois, we have 852 school districts, and I thought that it was very important that this group emphasizes the father's role in a child's education, because all of us know that the most important thing that can happen in the life of any child is he or she that they receive a proper education. And so I was all prepared today to talk to you about the goals that we have in the state of Illinois. We have about 7 goals that we want every child to accomplish within the next few years or within the next decade. And so while I was preparing my speech and getting ready this morning, I received a call from the superintendent of schools of the state of Illinois. And he was sharing with me that the meeting that he was supposed to go to today was canceled due to snow. So I said, come and go with me to the Illinois Fatherhood Initiative. And the emphasis is on education. I'm going to talk about the goals that we have here in the state of Illinois. And I thought that it would be wise for me to bring him so that he could know you. More importantly, that you all could know him, especially because there is a plan to get into schools and get fathers involved in schools. And so I asked him to come and to share with you the initiatives that we have as a state board so that you can know the chairman, so that you can know the superintendent of schools here in Illinois. Now, there's one thing in his favor and there's one thing against him. The thing that in his favor is that he's a former professional football player. What's in his favor is that he played for the San Francisco 49ers. What's against him is that he also played for the Green Bay Packers. And we are not very receptive to Green Bay Packers here in Chicago. But however, now his role is the superintendent of schools for the state of Illinois, and I think that we can all get with that. Will you put your hands together for Dr. Tony Smith?
Thank you, Chairman. It is a blessing to be here. I appreciate the opportunity. Mostly to tell you some things you probably don't know about the chairman, or if you do know, just to amplify them. So his leadership, I think if you don't know just how strongly he's advocated for every child in Illinois and a change in school funding, the chairman has brought students across the city to other places and said, hey, kids from my neighborhood deserve a quality education. But he says that about all kids in the state, and led many years for a change in the funding formula. Illinois had the most regressive funding, so the higher need, the lower income you were as a child or in a school, the less funding you got. That was Illinois' funding formula. The most regressive and punishing for the low income families. Chairman Meeks led many assaults in the General Assembly trying to get it passed. I will tell you that a couple years ago, we now have a pretty extraordinary funding model where the higher need the district or the school is, the more funding they get. And Reverend Meeks has led that charge, and to me, really focusing on evidence and saying that every child deserves a quality education. 4 years ago, he was named the chairman of the board, and soon after, had the good fortune to talk with him, and just as a personal point of privilege here. So my parents were in high school when I was born, and then not together. So I grew up in many different people's homes, and was blessed to have people intercede on my behalf in ways that they certainly didn't have to. I had some pretty extraordinary struggles along the way. For me, it was either the football or the military. That was kind of my hope and how I organized my life, and I had many people who've been gracious and thoughtful mentors, and I now add chairman to that list. So we took this idea of the whole child and caring for the whole child really serious, and right out of the gate, the chairman said, the state of Illinois has never had student level goals. Seems like the State Board of Education should be focused on children. And we moved and set a different agenda, which is the whole child, whole school, whole community. So from a state agency, that's the focus. And by the way, I have copies of all this. I'm not handing it out, so you'd be looking at it. I'm going to leave them up here, but you can see the chairman's leadership in action. They're now board approved. And essentially to say that every single child deserves to be assessed for readiness for kindergarten, which has driven a different conversation about early childhood in Illinois, and really looking at where kids have access to quality, and in particular, the highest need communities where opportunities have been largely stripped or taken from some families. How do we get more resources there? So assessment for readiness, looking at third grade literacy. The chairman has been a champion. I think folks in this room know that. Like literacy and interrupting, breaking the school to prison pipeline, really the fulcrum for that is third grade literacy. And so having 90% or more of our kids on grade level at the end of third grade was something directly led by the chairman. Fifth grade mathematics. Kids are behind in mathematics in fifth grade. It's really tough. So a lot of these things you know. Chicago Consortium has led the country in research around ninth grade and ninth grade on track. So if a kid is having struggles in their ninth grade year, their chances of graduation go way down. And so more support, and in particular community support around ninth grade, has been an initiative we've taken up at the board, led by the chairman. High school graduation, and two other dimensions, like high quality teachers. Illinois is facing an extraordinary crisis in teaching right now. We have about 1,500 open classrooms around the state. So right now, there are classrooms without full-time teachers, and that, we've just taken up a set of recommendations, and a full year ago, we were asked by the chairman to do a year of study and make recommendations, which we brought to the board in September. Really about having enough teachers, but diversifying the teacher workforce and having those teachers be learner ready and understanding and connecting across all communities. And then for every child to be in a safe and healthy learning environment. So those are the big ideas, and there's more values and beliefs, and this notion of equity and justice and fairness and the well-being of the whole child, not just reading, writing, and arithmetic, but actually thinking about the social, emotional well-being and every kid having the support they need. The chairman certainly has been an extraordinary father to his own children, but takes very serious that all children in Illinois deserve that kind of care, support, and high expectation. And if you haven't been to or listened to a state board meeting, he's unapologetic about that every child deserves our highest expectations and the support they need to thrive. And so to figure out how to change big policy, and obviously he's led in the Senate, but to do that from the state board perspective and to be unapologetic and on a mission for the health and well-being of our state, and saying things like, if we don't pay attention, in particular to the kids who've been least well served historically, Illinois is in big trouble, and we need to pass laws that connect us, that create deeper community, and our schools are at the heart of that. So strong public schools, healthy public schools are the heart of healthy community, and I think we've moved significantly in the last 4 years, but that's a direct result of the chairman's leadership. So I think he asked me to come here so he didn't have to say that all about himself. And so that I could just say all those things. But I will just tell you, I don't think there's a better honoree, and just, the job itself, being the state superintendent, is physical grind, getting around the state and being in districts, trying to do the right thing and think it through, but it's also difficult spiritually to really balance and be in relationship and try to stay, keep my hand on the plow when it gets tough. And so I can tell you directly that as a mentor and as a leader, the chairman's been very important to me. So thank you very much.